ABC 10 News at 5 starts right now.
As cases of COVID-19 skyrocket across San Diego County, we're getting our first look at what groups will see the vaccine first as we prepare to receive our first shipment of shots. Plus, thousands of people could lose power over the next few days because of a red flag warning. The preparations being made ahead of those dangerous fire conditions.
And in this season of hope, we're going to introduce you to a local retirement community that's using the joys of life to get through these tough times.
ABC 10 News at 5 starts now.
And good evening. I'm Steve Atkinson. I am joined remotely by my co-anchor Lindsay Pena. We're going to be checking in with her shortly. But first, about an hour ago, the county wrapped up its weekly update on the coronavirus with a very simple message. Cases are rising and hospitals are quickly nearing capacity. They urge San Diegans to do their part to slow the spread as we wait for a vaccine. And today, the county also unveiled its plan on how to distribute that vaccine. Here's ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer Kastner with more.
Yes, Steve, that's right. Today, the county said who will get the vaccine and in what order. It's going to be rolled out in phases. So it follows this week's announcement that roughly 327,000 vaccines could arrive from Pfizer by mid-December. Today, the county said that 28,000 doses are anticipated to be sent to San Diego in the first delivery. These vaccines, we learned today, will be allocated in these very specific phases. Phase 1A includes healthcare workers, nursing home patients, and nursing home employees. Phase 1B, people with underlying medical conditions. Phase 2 will be teachers, food supply workers, essential workers, inmates, and correctional facility staff, and also older adults. Phase 3, children and adults under 30. Phase 4, everyone else. The second round of vaccines is expected to arrive about 3 weeks after that first delivery. Also today, the CEO of Sharp Healthcare said there's growing concern over the increase in hospitalizations and patients needing ICU beds. Here's part of a passionate statement he gave this afternoon urging people to wear masks.
This is a pain to wear at times. I think we're all tired of it. You know what's more of a pain? To be a COVID patient in one of our hospitals, or to be talking to the family member of a patient who's about to expire that they can't be there with. That's what a pain is.
And today also the county reminded everyone that this week we passed 1,000 COVID deaths in San Diego. Reporting live tonight, Jennifer Kastner, ABC 10 News.
Jen, thank you. And here are the latest coronavirus numbers for our county. Today, 1,217 new cases were reported. We now have a total of 84,638. 16 new deaths were also reported. In total, 1,035 San Diegans have now died from this virus. More outbreaks are being reported at a local church that has been holding indoor religious services in defiance of the county health orders. Awaken Church now has 3 outbreaks. 2 of these are new. The most recent were reported at the San Marcos and Chula Vista locations. The first happened in Kearney Mesa. Also today, the church posted a message on its website saying its Wednesday evening services will now be moved online, but its Sunday services will still be held in person. 3 of the church's locations have received cease and desist orders.
The World Health Organization is updating its guidelines on wearing masks. It says people 12 and older should wear masks both indoors and outdoors in situations where you can't maintain 3 feet of distance between others. It's also recommending masks be worn when people visit your home if there's not enough ventilation or if you can't keep at least 3 feet apart. People at high risk for complications from COVID should wear medical-grade masks. Britain has become the first country in the world to authorize a rigorously tested COVID-19 vaccine and could begin giving those shots within days. Meantime, as ABC's Elizabeth Scholze reports, the CDC has changed its guidance on quarantines in this country.
As COVID cases and hospitalizations spike nationwide, the CDC changing its guidelines on coronavirus quarantines. The health agency saying people who have been exposed to someone with COVID-19 but have no symptoms can quarantine for 7 days if they have a negative test and 10 days with no test, instead of the original 14-day period. But the CDC still recommends a 2-week quarantine if possible, saying the change is meant to encourage people to comply with more flexible rules.
Reducing the length of quarantine may make it easier for people to take this critical public health action by reducing the economic hardship associated with a longer period.
With nearly 100,000 people across the country currently hospitalized, according to the COVID Tracking Project, doctors still begging Americans to take the threat seriously.
This pandemic is real. COVID is real. I don't want to have to hold your hand when you take your last breath.
But today there is much needed good news with a vaccine now closer than ever. The United Kingdom approving Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine for emergency use, with 800,000 doses expected to be available to healthcare workers and the elderly in the next week. Prime Minister Boris Johnson praising the record speed the vaccine was developed, but adding no corners were cut to get there.
After months of clinical trials involving thousands of people to ensure that the vaccine meets the strictest internationally recognized standards of safety, quality, and effectiveness.
With Pfizer's vaccine expected to be approved in the U.S. in the next few weeks, states are laying the groundwork for a massive effort to distribute and store the first doses.
This will be the largest governmental operation undertaken since World War II.
But with months to go until the vaccine is widely available to most Americans, CDC Director Robert Redfield gave a grim warning today, saying December, January, and February could be the most difficult time in the public health history of this nation. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, New York.
And you can keep track of any developments in the fight against coronavirus by going to our free mobile app. Just search 10 News in your app store.
All right, turning now to our weather. A red flag warning for San Diego County goes into effect in less than an hour. And because of that high fire danger, thousands of people could face potential power shutoffs. We're going to get to that in a moment. But first, we begin with our ABC 10 News meteorologist, Angelica Campos. She is tracking those conditions tonight. Hello, Angelica.
Hi, Stephen. They will be changing very quickly as we go into the overnight hours. So far, it's already windy in our inland in the inland communities, valleys, and foothills where the winds are gusting over 20 miles per hour, including Alpine, Julian, and Poway. The winds out of the east are starting to get stronger, and they will continue to do that overnight. We're expecting the strongest winds between 10 p.m. tonight and 6 p.m. tomorrow. That'll be the window of this high wind warning, when wind gusts could potentially reach speeds between 55 to 65 miles per hour, and isolated areas could see even stronger winds. Those could be damaging winds. I'll show you what it's going to look like tomorrow morning in our high wind futurecast, and also what the temperatures will be like heading into the weekend.
Angelica, thank you. In response to that fire danger, SDG&E is warning more than 95,000 of its customers of a possible power shutoff because of those Santa Ana winds. Our 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala is joining us from Alpine with a look at how firefighters are gearing up tonight. Mimi.
And Steve, the winds have really picked up since we got here early this afternoon. We are in Alpine, as you mentioned, right off of the 8 at the Vista Point, and it is really windy right now. As you heard Angelica mention, 20-mile-per-hour gusts. You can see some of the trees blowing around here, but CAL FIRE is really just asking everyone right now to prepare for this.
To have it go from Wednesday night to Saturday night is very significant. That's a long event, and that's a long window where we really need to make sure that nothing happens. This is something to take serious. It's not time to get complacent.
And similar conditions will be seen across Southern California. The strong Santa Ana winds are expected to develop tonight and strengthen tomorrow morning. This is causing wildfire concerns to grow for CAL FIRE. Of course, they have up staffing, they have extra engines, hand crews, and 7 helicopters ready to go. But they need the public to realize that fire season is not over, and we need to also be prepared. Clear any dry brush around your home without using power tools if you can, and make that evacuation plan. More than 95,000 SDG&E customers are also at risk of possibly losing power. This could be for several days during the public safety power shutoffs. This map shows that many communities are impacted this time around, including much of the East County, but also areas in the North County and the South Bay. So, of course, a lot of people are working and going to school from home, so just have that backup plan ready to go in case you do lose power. We're live in Alpine. Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
It's nerve-wracking because the winds are unpredictable. To be honest, it makes a lot of sound.
It does make a lot of sound. We just heard that with Mimi. A fire victim in Jamul is bracing for a potential power shutoff and more fire danger as the winds move in. As our ABC 10 News reporter Michael Chin found out, the owners of a family-owned farm, they worry another fire could end their hopes to rebuild.
This burnout area was once the picturesque Hidden Haven Farms in Jamul. Co-owner Ryan Skidmore says his family got the call from SDG&E Tuesday night warning of a potential shutoff.
Honestly, it is a here we go again because we just got done with this like 2.5 months ago.
This was the scene back in September as the Valley Fire overcame the 16-year-old farm known for sustainable farming. The Skidmores lost most of their crops and irrigation lines along with 125 chickens. The family had tried to get wildfire insurance but was denied, partly because the farm is in a wildfire-prone area. Their total loss, more than $250,000.
It was just a little outbuilding. It was really creepy to see it burnt down, just kind of fall down.
While several buildings were destroyed, 7 others are still standing, including 2 homes. When the winds pick up, Skidmore will worry.
So there's flammable material on adjacent properties, and it could always come onto our property and burn what we have, what didn't burn the first time.
Skidmore spent this day hand-trimming brush near structures. He'll also be checking his backup power sources in case the power is shut off. Without power, they can't pump water from their wells.
We have 3 different generators. We have a big one for powering the main trailer and the main house. We have smaller ones for powering tools and outbuildings.
With their power plans in place, Skidmore says they will settle in.
It's nerve-wracking because the winds are unpredictable.
And brace for the wind.
Definitely brew some coffee and see if there's any other preparations I can make.
Michael Chen, ABC 10 News.
Since the fires, neighbors have volunteered in the cleanup and donated chickens and supplies. Skidmore says a rebuild is looking more possible if they can avoid more fires.
Republican election officials in Georgia are demanding that President Trump stop undermining the results of their election. As ABC's Andrew Dimbert reports, the officials say the president has gone too far in questioning the legitimacy of his defeat.
Denying defeat, President Trump still not publicly acknowledging he lost the 2020 election. Instead, the lame duck president is peddling unfounded claims of voter fraud, tweeting without proof, rigged election. With a Senate runoff race in Georgia coming up next month and control of the chamber at stake, GOP election officials in the state passionately pleading to the president to tone it down.
Be the bigger man here and step in, tell your supporters, don't be violent, don't intimidate. All that's wrong, it's un-American.
Sterling says he became angry after a 20-year-old election contract worker began receiving death threats and a noose with his name on it. Georgia's Republican Secretary of State also scolding Trump after he mockingly retweeted Sterling's passionate news conference.
Even after this office request that President Trump try and quell the violent rhetoric, he tweeted out, "Expose the massive voter fraud in Georgia." This is exactly the kind of language that is at the base of a growing threat environment for election workers who are simply doing their jobs.
Adding to the growing chorus undercutting Trump's false claims of fraud, U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr. Barr stating that the Department of Justice to date has not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election. Trump's campaign lawyers hitting back at Barr, saying his, quote, opinion appears to be without any knowledge or investigation of the substantial irregularities and evidence of systemic fraud. But Barr asserts the Department of Justice looked but hasn't seen anything to substantiate that. And while Trump tries to cling to power through the courts, his losses are piling up. To date, Trump and his allies have lost at least 31 different election cases. And at a White House Christmas party last night, President Trump teased that he may be running for president again in 2024, while also noting that he's still trying to do another 4 years through his court challenges to this election. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.